Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and this is the ninth video in my September social series. Very quick recap of what I'm trying to do this month. I was trying to raise £150 in donations for a local social club that provides social activities on a weekly basis for people in my area with learning disabilities. I've currently raised £115, which means I'm going to make 11 videos. I said for every £10 raised I would make one video, so we raised £115. That's 11 videos. I'm stopping taking donations on the 24th of September, which is just one day from now. So if you haven't made a donation yet, but you're intending to, please do so. If I do manage to get all the way to the £150, I'm not going to be able to honour my commitment now to make the rest of the videos in September, given that it's now the 23rd, and that would mean making another 6 videos, sorry, after this one. But I'm not expecting to make the full donations. But just if I do, please accept my apologies. I will make the 15 videos, so hopefully in very short order. So just one last plea from me, if you are intending on donating, please do make your donation in the next 24 to 48 hours, because I intend to hand the money over on Wednesday, on Wednesday the 25th, when I attend the club with someone who's currently staying with us for respite care. So yeah, let's get on with the hands now. We're going to be going back on the review site again on Pork and Replays. Someone, Richard, has support of the channel, member of the Facebook group, very, very kind, has helped develop a little tool for me which makes importing hands into Pork Hand Replays so much easier. It's not perfect. It's a couple of bugs in it. There's a couple of hands that maybe don't quite come out right in this, but I remember the action from them, and hopefully, if any hands haven't quite come out right, I'll be able to confirm what happened to overcome the bugs. But it does mean that we are going to be seeing player names. I was toying with the idea of anonymising them, but Sky only had an issue with me using their software and showing player names, which was a big problem why I stopped doing live play videos. There's not really, nothing which Sky can do about their player names being used on a Pork Hand Replays site. I mean, these names could be, well, I just don't think there's very much Sky can do. I'm not going to be derogatory about any players, and I'm not going to share any reads that I have on regulars. So hopefully it won't cause too much of a problem. But if you do see yourself on video and you're not too pleased about it, then let me know, and I'll make sure that in future I don't include any hands that have been played with you. So we move straight on to the first hand. This hand's going to be against this player here. He's a regular in the games. I'm not sure how many tables he typically plays. He's pretty aggro pre-flop. Post-flop he's maybe not so aggro, but pre-flop he's certainly one of the more active people who play on a regular basis. So that's that. So it's blind versus blind. I raise. He 3-bets. I go with the 4-bet. He jams. Against this player, I don't think we can 4-bet fold. Tens blind versus blind. I didn't 4-bet with the intention of folding. We're not thrilled to see the jam. I'd much rather have seen the fold or a call. But against this player, just too likely. He's going to have too many hands that we're doing okay against. I know in the past we've talked about if I feel like we're flipping or fucked, then I fold. But against this dude, yeah, we probably are flipping or fucked. But I think there's a lot of flipping going on against this fellow. I'm not sure if he ever takes this line with like pocket nines, pocket eights, etc. Couldn't tell you that. But I do think there's a reasonable chance, especially given that I chose a pretty small 4-bet size, that this guy could just be going a little bit crazy pre-flop. So I stuck the money in. Didn't really take too long to think about it. And of course, this is one of the situations where we weren't flipping and we were fucked. One of them things. I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it. It's just against that player. I think like folding pocket tens pre-flop blind versus blind is going to be a bigger mistake than stacking off with him. Maybe some of you other guys who know him might think differently, but yeah, for me, I think once we elect to go with the 4-bet, then I think folding is pretty much out of the question. Move on to the next hand. We have a player who I'm not familiar with here limping, and then another regular going with the 4x ISO on the button. I elected to go with the 3-bet from the blinds, which I think is completely standard. And the limper calls. And our friend here calls, the regular calls. We go with the small c-bet, which again I think is completely fine. We've got top pair, reasonable kicker, backdoor flush draw. We could possibly go with a bigger sizing, but we do want to get called by worse here. You know, I think if there was £8 something in the pot, I think before we made this bet, if we'd have gone with like a 5 something pound sizing, I think we're just going to fold out too many hands that we're doing okay against, and kind of like narrow our opponent's ranges down into a way that isn't terrible for us, but isn't as good for us as this sizing is. So I went with the small sizing, and we got called in 2 spots. Really easy turn, Jam. I mean, if we are behind, and I think if we were behind, especially to the regular, if he had flopped a set here, which I think is the only way we can really be behind him on the flop, don't think he slow plays pre versus the 3-bet and the cold call. I think if he has like aces, kings, ace, king, he's going to be pumping more money in pre-flop most of the time. So if we're beat, we're only beat to a pair of sixes, like pocket sixes. It's now improved to a set. He doesn't have pocket fours, or very unlikely, even though we see bet the flop small. When he goes bet call on the flop, I think pocket fours isn't going to be there too often. Now, John 235, he could maybe have stuff like ace 6, ace 4, and maybe ace king if he's really loose passive, so we could be behind to him. But overall, we got top pair, good kicker, and the nut flush draw, and a really low SPR, so I just think it's a super trivial jam in my opinion. We do get called, which I was a little bit surprised by, and even more surprised when I saw his hand. I mean, I think I'm not sure what to think about this. I think like pre-flop, he should probably fold, I think. Yeah, Geddes closing the action and he's the extra guy in the pot, but I mean, what do you want to do with ace 10? What do you want to hit? I mean, he's hit not as well as he could have hoped, but he's made his hand, and then he's just managed to end up losing a full load. I mean, I think obviously his isolation's pre-flop's completely fine, no issue with that. Defending versus a 3-bet's kind of marginal in my book. He has to call the flop because of our sizing, but I think maybe he could fold the turn. Maybe he probably should fold the turn. Trying to think of like what bluffs I could possibly have here. I guess maybe a hand like Queen Jack of clubs, Queen 10 of clubs, possibly. That's if I squeeze that pre. Sorry, if I 3-bet that pre, which I'm not sure I do when there's a limper in the pot. I think I probably call and let the limper come along and like give me a better price on my call and hopefully more implied odds, etc. So I'm not sure. Don't want to be too critical of the guy. So I think we just leave it there. But in terms of the way I played the hand, I'm completely fine with it and happy with the outcome. The next hand here we have 2 kings and we have multiple limpers. I'm not happy with my isolation size here. We've made it whatever that is, 6 blinds or so. 7 blinds nearly. I suppose it's fine. But the problem is we're going to be out of position, and both Croc Eyes and whatever the other guy is called, I didn't know too much about the other guy, but Croc Eyes is a pretty loose passive player. Excuse me. Ruby Slola's a pretty loose player. I think we could maybe have made this bigger here and tried to get heads up. I think if we get one caller here, we might end up getting all 4, and then we're going to be like out of position to 3 players with an all be strong hand. But nevertheless, it's a situation where you want to try and get heads up. Don't want to just take it down pre, of course, because our hand's too strong to just want to get the folds pre. But we do want to try and get it heads up, and I'm not sure this size helps us achieve that. But we'll see. It actually did this time. And we get a pretty wet flop. We see bet quite big because there's so many hands we can get action from that we're ahead of. 9x, 7x, 8x. Flush draws, pair plus straight draw, just straight draws. And then we get min raised, which is never nice. We have a player who we're going to presume is loose passive. We don't know much about him, but he's just overlimped the button. So the presumption is loose passive, and he's min raised on this flop. The problem is we can't just call it. The board's too wet. We're out of position. So the question is here, just like, do we get it in, or do we fold? What do we do? Could we call here and just see how many turn cards we hit? I guess we wouldn't despise a spades, given we've got like backdoor spades ourselves. But any 6, 7, 9, not great for us. Although board pairing I wouldn't hate it. Then any 5, any 8, any 10. I mean, they're all just diabolical cards. There's too much to think about here about whether we should. I think calling's out of the question. But when we get min raised by a loose passive player, you know what I think. I think folding is the option. I think that's what we should do here, and that's exactly what I did. Of course, I didn't fold. We have to jam. We just have to jam here. It's again for all the reasons that we talked about, all the bad cards coming off. He might just like have a worse hand here. He could have, I don't know, 9x and be doing this. He could have pocket 10s, pocket jacks. Doubt pocket 8s goes with the min raise. I think pocket 8s have the calls or goes with the bigger raise if they're going to want to play the raises aggressively. But we just can't fold our overpairs in this spot. It's not a nice board, but we don't want to overcomplicate things. Jam it in his eye. We can certainly get called by worse, and if we are behind to 2 pairs or whatever, then we have some equity. Sadly, our equity is significantly reduced against the flopped nuts. So yeah, never mind that one. We're one of those things. We just lose the maximum in a spot where we're probably meant to lose the maximum, in my opinion. On to the next hand. So we squeeze jacks out of the big blind. Not sure I'm in love with my sizing. I think we could definitely go bigger. It's just been like min raising called in 3 spots. But I don't hate it either. I mean, how bad can it be? And we get called in 2 spots. And get, again, kind of sort of flop. We've got to be happy with it. It's a squeeze pot. We have the overpair and a bob where we can get lots of action from worse hands. I didn't know Rumrig very well. Shark Tank plays quite often. I would say he's probably a player that struggles to win. Could be wrong, but I don't think he's a. I don't expect he's a winning player in the games. So we just need to value bet here. If we get raised, we're in a similar situation to the last time where we probably just need to go with it at this point. Because again, there's just hands that Adamants can have that would still ahead of and have decent equity against. So you know, there's like kind of not high variance, but if we get raised, it's probably not ideal. It's probably not where we want to be in life. But at the same time, it's an overpair in a 3-bet pot against 2 probable losing players. So what we're going to do, we just have to put the money in and let variance sort it out in the short term. As it happens, we just get the call. Turn is a pretty good card. Shouldn't have that much 6x in his min raise calling range. So I think it's on balance. The 6 is a pretty good card. It's still not going to be able to fold his like pocket 8s through pocket 9s, pocket 10s. Maybe he's going to fold a draw now, but I don't hate that. If he's getting to fold equity, it's not the end of the world. And maybe sometimes it calls with like a 7x or something. So we went with the jam. Our opponent did find the call. And we were fortunate enough that we had him pretty much crushed. And then we dragged down a nice one. On to the next hand. Ace Queen. We have a unknown player. Min raising from the middle position cut off, whatever you call it, 4-handed. We go with the 3-bet to isolate with our strong hand. We flop trips. He leads out pretty big. We're happy to just call, of course. He goes pretty big again. I think the question here is, do we jam now and try and get the money in, or do we just like keep calling. And if the turn wasn't a jack, if the turn was, I don't know, like a 7 or a 4 or a king or whatever, there are lots of cards where I would just call again. But because it's a jack, I mean, we're committed at this point. It doesn't matter what the river is. If we go call here, it doesn't care what the river is. We go call again, and we just stack off. But what I don't want to see happen here is, I don't know, say a 9 or a 10 come off, and that opponent, just like with whatever he's got that we're ahead of, gets scared and then not put the rest of the money in. So I elected to, mean, he looks pretty committed to me. So I elected to go with the raise, and he was clearly committed, and that's why. And we are happy to drag down another pretty tasty pot. This one is going to be the most interesting hand of the video in my opinion. This fellow, Sky regulars will be very familiar with him, is Ouija. You know, he watches the videos, maybe he'll watch this hand. If he does, he'll certainly enjoy it. Excuse me, just want to clear my throat a moment. He's definitely one of the more interesting regulars in the 20NL, 30NL streets in Sky. When he first came along, I just thought, this guy's just a whale. He's just like way too aggressive. He 3-bets extraordinary ranges. Pretty sure he gets out of line against me. Maybe he gets other people too. I mean, I've seen him 3-bet all kinds of utter junk and show it. I think it's more about the ego and the competition than the winning money with this dude. He certainly makes life difficult, and I really do not enjoy having him to my direct left. Not really sure why I was at this table, to be honest with you. Smart Goat's a decent regular. Ouija's very difficult player to play against. Wiggerlass, I don't know him. He had more than 30 pence. It's just it's a bug with Hold'em Manager where the way I've imported the hand, it doesn't. It just has people with no money when they're not committed chips pre-flop. So Wiggerlass is the only reason to be at the table. Not sure allowing Ouija to be in position against me 3 hands out of 4, 150 blinds deep is a situation that's worth one fish. So yeah, that shouldn't have been at the table really at this point. We should have been moving on. But anyways, he's 3-bet me. If he'd said some of the hands he 3-bet me with, we can't fold King Queen. But he doesn't fall to that many 4-bets either. So I elected to just call. And we, on the face of it, flop nothing. He c-bets. He would c-bet here with like pretty much most of his range, I would guess. And by that I mean he can have all kinds of hands. I mean he can literally have 3 deuce off here. He doesn't like raise 3-bet. Fucking hell, Rich, get your words out. He doesn't 3-bet 3 deuce all the time, of course, but he can have it. He can have like, I don't know, fucking 6-4 off here. He can just have stuff like, I don't know, 10-8 off suit. All these kind of things with like 2 overcards and all the backdoor equity. We just can't fold this much of a strong hand to him for 1 bet. Turn is the Jack of Spades, which felt like a good card to me. Whoops, we've gone 1 step too far ahead. Felt like a good card to me. Didn't feel like he would have, like me, of course he can have some Jack X. I mean, he can have all the strong hands still, of course he can. But given how aggressive and out of line he is, I thought he presented really good check raise opportunity. I would definitely play on a lot of my Jack X like this against him. I would play my pocket 7s, pocket 5s here against him. I could have a lot of strong hands too. And I think we have, like, against this particular player, even though it's a 3-bet pot and he's double barreled, I think we have like a decent amount of fold equity too. Way more fold equity than you would expect to have against most players in a situation where it's gone 3-bet pre, bet flop, bet turn. I thought I had a lot of fold equity here, so we went with the jam. But unfortunately, we didn't have the fold equity against the quad jacks, which is unfortunate. But yeah, if I had the hand again, would I play it any differently against that player? Probably not, to be fair. It's unfortunate that we think we've hopefully got some overs and at least a flush draw, and we're drawing dead, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. Okay, we have our friend Ouija again. Not sure why my stack isn't full here. I suspect that's just a bug. Either that or for some reason the auto top up didn't work well. I'm pretty sure that I would have started this hand with at least 20 quid. So I'm not sure why that's happened, but never mind. So anyway, Ouija's opened under the gun. He's been called in about 1 million spots. We have 2 queens. Easiest squeeze spot in the history of the world. We get called in 2 spots, and we get pretty diabolical flop. We check, Ouija bets, and again, given our reads against this guy and not been falling to 3 bets, doesn't seem to be one of his hobbies, to be honest. We just can't fold this hand just yet versus this player. It is a little bit disconcerting that he's stabbed when there's a fishy player behind that can have a lot of like weak ace-x in his range. But I just don't think we can check fold just yet to this player with this hand. So we're kind of forced into call. We're hamstrung there to calling. Turn goes check check, which is encouraging. And then the river, we check again. He goes all in, and he's good enough to go all in here with like all kinds of worse hands and pocket queens. Or is it good enough, aggressive enough? Not sure which is the correct word, but he can certainly have worse hands and pocket queens here that he's either turning into a bluff, if it's like a made hand maybe, or just some like random flush draw or something that he checked back with, gave up with, and then going for it again once it's very apparent I don't have an ace. So again, kind of the guy has me penned in. Don't think we can fold to this player. So we call. And this time he didn't have the quads, he just had the trips, but it was certainly good enough to beat my 1 pair. On to the next hand, we have 2 deuces. Liam Boy, long time regular on the Sky Streets, opens. We have an easy defend on the button with a potential weaker player in the blinds. He min-donks. It's gone on too fast and he hit the pause button. He min-donks. Liam Boy raises, as you would expect him to do, with like a reasonable frequency with all his strong hands. And by strong hands, I mean like Queen 10, Queen Jack, King Queen, Ace Queen. Maybe his Jack 10s and things as well. Obviously his aces and his kings are going to want to raise too, so there's like loads and loads of hands ahead of Liam Boy. Such a dry board. I think if we put that the 3-bet in there, it's going to be very easy for both players to fold 1 pair type hands. So I elected to just go with the slow play. Turn goes min-donk, raise again, and then at this point now it's clear to me Liam probably has a relatively strong hand at this point, given that he's not been deterred by my cold call on the button and he's put another raise in. So at this point the question is, do we want to raise now, maybe risk losing Bean in the hope of Liam somehow felting with like just 1 pair, and I don't think he would. I think if I think the only hand is going to stack off with here probably is like Queen 9, something like that we're ahead of. I think he probably gets away from aces and kings. He's obviously never folding pocket 9s, pocket queens. So I like to just call again, keep Bean in, and also like keep like Liam's value range that we're ahead of still in the pot. River's a perfectly safe card. Checks through to us. I just go all in at this point, which I think is a standard play. And Liam folds, and Bean turned up with just Jack Queen, so that one worked out nicely. On to the next one, Ace Jack. This one's one of the ones that goes weird. So this Deegan here, it's just like a Saturday night at silly o'clock. Top Cat's regular contributor to the channel, a lot of fun to play at the table. It's even more fun when he's drunk, which he was claiming to be on Saturday night when he was playing. he was creating some good action, that's for sure. I suspect Top Cat's probably a decent player when he wants to be, but maybe he doesn't always want to be, and maybe he just likes having fun and trying to put people in jail sometimes, try to put them in the cage. He's like a diet version of Ouija. Not easy to play against, good action and good fun at the table. So this Deegan, he was starting to talk about how he was bored and the stakes were too low for him and we were all fucking nits. And he'd gone all in, numerous times. So I just flatted with the ace jack waiting for Deegan to go all in. He had us, don't think he had us covered at this point. I think he had like £30, I'm not sure. 20 odd pounds, £30. I was willing to just like snap call him and he went all in, and that's what he did, although it's not showing here. So we do end up with all the money in. It's not saying that, but at this point this pot was whatever, like 50 quid or something, I think, at 25 and now maybe 60 quid at 20 now, I'm not sure. He definitely had more than 100 big blinds though. And he had the jack 9 and we were just pretty much dead on the fucking flop, to be fair. And that was that. We lost a big flip. Well, not a big flip, we were high equity favourite, but we lost it. This hand was not that long after. Again, I just called, hoping for Deegan. And at this point, Deegan has us covered because he got the double up. And excuse me, just need to clear my throat again. And again, we just called the open from Big Hawk, who's a decent regular, with the intention of not folding if Deegan jammed to get. Do we really want to be getting 150 bigs in pre with pocket sevens? Not as a rule, but in this situation, we just kind of have to. And we did get it in. This time he had the ace 10. And this time we held, and that was whatever, it was like a £60 pot or something like that. I can't remember. He had us covered though, and we had £30 in front of us. So we lost with the jack 9, the ace jack versus the jack 9. Then we got it in and won a flip. I think he put us slightly ahead versus him. And we need to enjoy being with those players at our table, but it can be exasperating if you lose like 3 or 4 pots in a row to them and just bang, you lose, I don't know, 2 or 3 flips or whatever, because you can't be folding hands like pocket sevens, ace jack, etc. It can either make or break your week quite quickly. Fortunately, there were only 2 big hands we played with him, and then I think he busted shortly after and disappeared. So we like that they exist. We don't necessarily enjoy the short-term variance though. Right, on to the next one. So we have 2 queens here. 30 in our table. A loose passive player at the small blind goes with the call. Easy C bet, and he calls. Easy turn bet, he calls. And then that happens. And I was like, literally no clue what's going on here. There weren't that many draws out there, like 6-7, ace 3, 6-3. 6-3's got there, sorry, from the flop. So yeah, I mean, I'm not that into paying off loose passive players in spots where they can obviously have like lots of strong hands. I just didn't have it here. I just couldn't buy it. I couldn't buy what he was selling. Don't think he's going to be doing this like pocket 10s too often. I think if he had a set of 10s, 5s or 4s, I think we'd have found out about it on the turn when we significantly increased our bet size in relation to the pot. We bet the flop very small, just 3 blinds, and we went up to 14 blinds on the turn. So I think when he doesn't raise the turn, he doesn't have any of the sets. And if he did have a hand like 5-4 or whatever, then he's just been counterfeited, and who knows. Yeah, so I just couldn't bring myself to find a fold here. So we do make the call, and he has the 5 deuce off, and there we go. That's what you get for playing at 3 o'clock in the morning. You get in these really good games, but you get the variance that goes with it. So here we have our friend Top Cat, friend of the channel, regular contributor, and seemingly all round nice guy. Try to put me in the cage again with the 3-bet. He does seem to 3-bet with a higher frequency than most Sky 20 and 30 players. So I think pocket 10s is going to be way too we're too strong to fold. It's just whether we want to 4-bet and get it in or just call. And I think like at the first time we had pocket tens, we 4-bet and got it in blind versus an active player pre-flop. This is different, you know. Even though the top cat is pretty active, it is still like middle position versus cut off. There's 3 people to go behind, so things do change a little bit. So we call, go to see a flop, get a really good flop. He bets. We obviously not going to go anywhere just yet. Check the turn. He checks back. At this point, I'm just thinking, right, well, he's in give up mode. Top cat doesn't strike me as a sort of player who's going to check back like jacks through aces there, nor should he. So when he doesn't bet, I'm kind of thinking he's going to be more in the ace king, ace queen, just general give up region of his range. Checking back his ace highs because maybe he has some showdown value and just giving up with some of his complete bluffs when on like a turn that isn't that great for bluffing on. So we check the river to allow him to do this. That I was just very willing to just check call here and expect to see enough bluffs in his range to make this like remarkably profitable. Not this time though. He had the full house. Fair play to me. To be fair, when you give as much action as Top Cat gives, especially as much he was giving that day, you deserve to get some back, and absolutely fair play to him. Here we have 2 aces. It says 1940. That can't be right. We'd almost certainly starting with 20 quid. You get like your nightmare situation with 2 aces with a really loose passive table, and we've raised under the gun and got like everyone except one person calling, and we get a reasonable board for 2 aces. I mean, there isn't really any board you're going to be in love with multi-way with 2 aces if you get too much action. But I mean, we have a incredibly standard c-bet spot here against in a more aggressive game against more aggressive players. I think I like to slip ace into like a check raising range at least some of the time. But against all these passive players, there's no way I want to just see this flop check through. So we needed to find out a bet. If there was some like more aggressive players behind me here, I would definitely think about check raising. But yeah, in this passive game, we just need to lead out. And I don't think that bet's big enough, to be fair. I don't think that bet's anywhere near big enough. We're committed against Rick and waste anyway. Yeah, that bet's too small. I've been using a lot more small bet sizes lately, and it's been going really well for me, working really well. But this wasn't a time to use it, but I did. A bit of autopilot maybe. I mean, I shouldn't really be autopiloting in these spots, so these are the spots you do not need to be autopiloting in. Then we get the check raise all in from the small blind. There's nothing which we can do with our aces apart from like re-raise. I mean, if Rick's got us beat, then so be it. This pot's going to be tiny and relatively significant, and I really don't want to be calling here and giving Death Deal a really good price on any draws that he could have. So I elected to go with the re-raise to try and force Death Deal out of the pot with whatever equity he has, and just like try and take it down versus Rick. Death Deal doesn't agree though, and sticks the rest of the money in. Obviously we just call, and we hope we're up against like a smaller overpair. Sadly, we were up against the set, and we did not get there. But never mind. Nothing much we're going to be able to do about that. I mean, even if we'd bet them flop bigger, it makes no difference. The guy's flop top set. So we made a mistake with our flop sizing, but it had no effect on the hand. So we weren't punished for our flop sizing mistake, but we were punished by not having a hand that can beat 3 sevens. So on to the next hand. We isolate a limper with 5-4 suited. Not entirely sure. Yeah. This wouldn't be a standard play from me. There must have been. I don't remember this player, but it's not like me, especially with 2 regulars behind, to isolate with this hand. Maybe I was just feeling my oats a little bit. I think this was from a Saturday night session, and it was a good session Saturday night. We were doing well. We were on the crest of a wave. Maybe this is just a little bit of like overconfidence, winner's tilt, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, we were obviously feeling our oats. And we flop a flush draw on a paired board. We get led into. We make the raise, which I think is completely fine against a. I mean, this guy's donking range here is going to contain some nines, some queen X, some smaller pocket pairs, some flush draws probably, some straight draws. So yeah, it's probably not going to get too many folds on this flop. But if he does have a hand like pocket sixes, pocket deuces, pocket threes, ace ten, etc., he's going to fold all of them if we raise, you would imagine. So I went with the raise and he clicked it back, and I was like, uh-oh. Now it's time to get there. But if we do get there, could it be like a situation where we get there and we end up just losing the maximum? But obviously we're never going to fold for the min 3-bet. We just call, turn checks through. River, we make the flush and our opponent just like snap potted it into me, and I was like, fuck. We don't beat any of his value hands whatsoever. I mean, maybe once in a while he has like ace 9 or 10-9 and plays it this way for value, so it's a lie to say we don't beat any of his value hands. But I don't think he does this with the queen, ever. I think he's going to turn it with like a lot of pocket queens here, a lot of bigger flushes. What are we going to do? We got a flush against a guy who probably isn't playing optimal poker, so we're not going to fold. And we didn't. And he certainly wasn't playing optimal poker because he turned up with the 8-7 offsuit. And we were highly delighted with that outcome. Here we have Slim Soul, who's gone with the min raise. We go with the squeeze. He calls. Slim Soul is someone who on my note system is tagged as blue, which is someone who's probably quite a significant losing player. So pocket nines is just very likely to be as good as the nuts here on this board. So we bet. He calls. Need to keep betting. We do. He calls. And now on this river, I mean, I think it's pretty likely we have the best hand. 5x is improved, 6-7's improved. So there are some lands from his flop calling range that have definitely improved on this river. I don't think we can bet again and get too much value, to be honest. Ace Deuce got there on the turn as well as 6 Deuce, which I don't think he has. I don't think he has 6 Deuce very often, but by and large, there are some of his hands that called the flop that have improved, but there's also lots that haven't. Don't think we can get. I think it's too thin to go to value with our pocket 9, so I think it's very much a comfortable check call. We check, he bets big, we just have to call, of course. Sadly, this time for us, he had the set and he took most of our lunch money. On to getting towards the end of the hand, so there's about this and one more to go. This is another hand that hasn't imported properly. Lucky Lucci is another player who's like light blue tag in my Sky Note system, which means he's very likely a significant losing player. We go to isolate him with the Jack 7 suited. Charlie calls behind for King Donk, and Lucky Lucci called too. And Lucky Lucci had 17 quid before this hand started. So he goes all in on this flop. This hand's fucked up, I'm afraid. But Lucky Lucci's like gone all in here for like £16 into like a £4 pot, and we just got the world on a stick without actually having anything yet. It's my thing here was like, can we ever fold here, given he's like just dog jamming into 3 players, and we need to hit, of course. He could possibly have our draws dominated. But ultimately, I don't isolate significant losing players to fold when I have like a gut shot on a flush draw. Not happy with the strength of either of my draws. We haven't got a nut flush draw. Our gut shot is just a gut shot. But yeah, we just need to put it in. So I rejammed. Very glad to see the other 2 guys behind me fold, because if either of them had called, we'd have been fucked. And he turned up with the 6-3, so he has like a pair and not much else, whereas statistical favourite to win the pot. 7 rolled off on the turn, and we took that one down, and we were delighted to do so. So on to the last hand of the video. It's a 13L table from last night. I don't know much about Buffalo Boy, other than he can't be a regular because of his stack size. or he's unlikely to be a skill player because of his stack size. So we 3-bet the jacks, we c-bet, he min raises, and I think I had a note on him from memory that he like overplays top pair hands. I think my note was actually like raises top pair. I think it was just a normal pot though, not a 3-bet pot. But basically, the implication from the note was that this dude's capable of overplaying like weak made hands, like raising when he should be just calling, calling when maybe he should be folding, etc. So he overvalues made hands basically. Don't want to get too complicated. We just call here, try to slow play and that trap some turns. He's not guaranteed to bet, so I just took the rest of the money, or at least I think I did. And our player was happy to accommodate us. He turns up with just a 10-5, and we put it to bed on the turn. So there we go. That is the end of the hand review. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks again to Richard for helping me with like an easier way to build the hands on poker hand replays. It's not foolproof yet. I'll continue working with him to help him try and make it a little bit better, and maybe that's something that some of you other Sky guys will benefit from if you want to like put some of your hands into poker hand replays to share with your friends or to share on various social media outlets, etc. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have got this far, you haven't yet donated and you were thinking of it, please do it. You haven't got very long to do that now. Any donations made after the 24th of September, I'll have to return them, I'm afraid, unless the people just want me to, unless whoever donates it wants me to just, I don't know, find somewhere else to donate it to, which I'd be happy to do, of course. So yeah, please do get involved. Hope you enjoyed the video. I owe 2 more that I should get done by the end of the month. If we do reach the full £550 in donations, I won't get the other 4 done that needs to be done. If we get to 150, that means I have to make 6 videos in the next 7 days. That's highly unlikely that I'll be able to do that. But we'll certainly get 2 made over the next 6 days, which is much more likely how we're going to end up being. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great week. Take care, and bye-bye for now.